Education Minister Favour Williams says a decision hasn't been made as to whether students will be allowed to repeat grades due to learning loss caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Students are worried about the mental ability component of the upcoming PEP exams next month, but Mrs. Williams is warning against panic. Anthony Lugg has a story.
The president of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linvern Wright, has suggested that students repeat their current grade because of the significant learning loss caused by the pandemic. TVJ News has learned that some students have indicated that they'll not be performing in any of the learning methods due to socioeconomic challenges. On Tuesday, during a tour of some schools in Kingston and St. Andrew, we asked Education Minister Favour Williams whether the government would consider allowing students to repeat.
At this time, it isn't, but that doesn't mean that if it's something we should do, that we won't. Again, as students come back to school, as we do assessment tests and so on, we will know where students are. And if there's a requirement, then that is what will happen. But there's been no policy so far or no broad-based decision about that just yet.
Some grade 6 teachers have expressed concern about the upcoming ability component of the primary exit profile PEP exams slated for February. The teachers argue that the students were not adequately prepared. The education minister says there's no need for panic.
The ability test is just that. It gives us a sense of where the child is. It alerts us so that we can adequately prepare them for the more important components of the PEP, which those parts will be had in May of 2021. So we're asking students, to try to relax. We want to test your ability, not necessarily your knowledge of the subject area or the curriculum.
Some parents are hesitant to send their children to school for face-to-face classes. But Mrs. Williams reminded parents that an assessment of the school's population was done before reopening.
We know that all students cannot be back on the school compound at the same time. So we're encouraging the flexibility. We're encouraging principals and teachers to use a combination of face-to-face and online. We are in a pandemic. It's not business as usual, and so we've made all these different options available to the schools, and we're imploring them to use these options to the max.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the education minister is expressing concern about reports that students have not been participating in online classes. Mrs. Williams is reminding parents who instigate or condone their children missing classes that they're breaking the law.
Online, TV, radio, and in recent times, a phased resumption of face-to-face classes. These are all the learning methods in place for students due to the pandemic. But it's understood that some students have not been using all these methods available to them. Education Minister Favour Williams issued a warning to the parents.
You're breaking the law. Education is still compulsory. Our students must be engaged with the education system. It's not an option for parents not to do so. There must be one of those modalities that you can use. Our lessons are still being broadcast on television, on the cable networks, if you have cable in your home. And if you have none of that, if you don't have the online, if you don't have a TV or a radio, you should have collected the textbooks and workbooks for your child.
Mrs. Williams disclosed that some parents have not collected their children's textbooks since last year.
That is not something we should tolerate at all. And I would say to the schools, you need to go out and find those children, find those parents who are not being the kind of parents that we want to see in Jamaica, that take education serious. No child of school age should be, as I said in my remarks a couple of days ago, should be sitting around idly.
She says while the ministry understands that some may be facing challenges, keeping students away from classes is not an option. She's encouraging them to make contact with the school.
At the very least, your child should be sitting home with their textbook and worksheets. Teachers are going out into communities. Teachers are reaching out. And you have to do your part as a parent. You cannot have your child and your child is not being educated formally. It is not acceptable and will not be tolerated.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.